Hey there, this is Dunamis from Bentonville Cerakote. Welcome to our video. We're doing a bunch of Cerakote lately, and today we're doing a Smith Wesson Bodyguard frame, Bodyguard 2 frame in Robin's Egg Blue. It's kind of a really pale powdery blue. I don't know if you can see that, but and we're doing a couple of Glock slides that have been milled for a red dot. And we're doing those two in titanium. Some metallic. I don't know if you can see the metallic on it. And we're doing another Glock slide that is also has the R. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a cut for an optic. And that one's going to be burnt bronze. So be sure to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. And if you live in Northwest Arkansas, give us a call, 479-370-3555. That's 479-370-3555. BentonvilleCerakote.com. Okay, right here I'm dialing way down so that I can just have a little pinpoint of spray coming out of the gun. The fan is at 0, the fluid is at 3/8, and the air is turned up just to get the right atomization. That way I can go to that pistol frame or a slide and get into the really tight areas where you don't want a lot of overspray when you're trying to catch these areas, but you want to catch them before you do a regular fan pattern, because sometimes a regular fan pattern won't get them. So you need to dial way down and get in those real tight spots. While I'm adjusting my gun to a normal fan pattern, did you know that Cerakote is 85 times stronger than bluing and even stainless when it comes to protecting firearms from rust and corrosion? Cerakote is the best in the industry, hands down. Okay, right here I've got a regular size fan pattern, about 2 to 3 inches for a small little pistol like this. My fan is at 1, my fluid is at 2, and my air is all the way up with the Iwata LPH80 spray gun. Those settings only work on the LPH80. If you have a Pache or an Amazon spray gun or a Harbor Freight spray gun, it'll be all different settings. Okay, we're getting ready to do some air cure now. Got it at 20 speed while it cures in air. You want to air cure in between coats because you want to get the solvents to flash out. So now I'm dialing the gun way back down to a little tiny pinpoint again because I want to make sure I caught everywhere. So while I do this kind of it's not a final inspection, but it's the inspection after the second coat. I'm looking for any areas that didn't get sprayed properly, and I'm dotting them with Robin's Egg Blue. Alright, we got our final inspection. Well, it's not the absolute final inspection because after it comes out of the oven we do another inspection. But this is my pseudo final inspection before it air hangs, or it hangs to air cure prior to going into the oven. Okay, this is the final air cure. While preparing it to go into the oven, you let it flash for 15 to 20 minutes so all the solvents get out. And then we're going to move on to Glock slides. Alright, we're going to be doing 2 of our 3 slides in titanium. So here we go with titanium. Doing a little tight spot work here. This is Bentonville Cerakote at bentonvillecerakote.com. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. I decided to go ahead and leave the spray gun set at a pinpoint spray pattern so that I could get into all 3 slides with the same setting and not have to go back and forth between a regular 2 to 3 inch fan for a small gun and pinpoint. 2 3 inch fan, pinpoint. 2 3 inch fan, pinpoint. I didn't want to do that. So all 3 are getting sprayed at once with the pinpoint. Now we're getting into, I guess, inspection and any final spray I need to do. Touch-ups. Alright, now I'm getting ready to get into the burnt bronze slide. As with before, we're starting out with pinpoint spraying so we can get all the tiny little crevices and cracks and holes, the safety plunger hole, the extractor hole, the trigger assembly hole. Alright, time to adjust the gun from the pinpoint spray up to a 2.5 to 3 inch fan pattern. You don't need it too wide when you're spraying a Glock slide. 2 inches is really plenty, actually. And see, when I'm spraying, I'm looking at the slide with the light, the side light, and I'm making sure that the slide has a wet appearance, not a dry appearance. Now you don't want to go too slow, because then you're going to end up with picture framing and orange peel. You got to find your speed. So you need to get like some scrap metal and test and practice. Go down to Home Depot and buy a bunch of tiles and practice on tile. It's cheap that way. You can still see where it's wet on that side there with the reflection from the light. The solvents haven't flashed out yet. And now we're air curing, flashing them out. I usually do an inspection after the 2 coats. I want to make sure I got full coverage. If I didn't get full coverage, I'll spray some more. I might have to dial it down to get little pinpoints, or I might do a wide fan to cover odd gloss areas or areas that didn't get enough coating, which is very uncommon since 2 coats is plenty. While I'm go ahead and checking this out, why don't you go ahead and check out Bentonville Certified Cerakote at Facebook.com. Getting ready to reassemble the Bodyguard here in Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville. If you're from Northwest Arkansas, give us a call, 479-370-3555, Bentonville Cerakote at gmail.com. I gotta tell you, this tape that's covering this serial number is on there good. It's the blue tape you can buy from Cerakote.com, and it sticks real good and it holds up to temperature real good. But it can be a bitch to take off. I probably should have flashed this frame and did a tack cure, so that it was tacky, so that I could work on this piece of tape as if I was working on a stencil. But I went ahead and cooked it, and now I'm paying for it by having this struggle getting the little tape off that covers this serial number. And when you bring a project for us to do here at Bentonville Cerakote, BentonvilleCerakote.com, we always put your parts in your bin. This bin is got a label. The label's off to the side, but this label says Bodyguard, and those are all the parts for that frame. There's no other parts that I added or subtracted. These are the parts that came out of that frame, and these are the parts that are going back into that frame. We're going to start with the trigger, and then we'll work our way to some other parts. One thing I need to mention here is whenever you put a trigger housing or fire control housing into a polymer frame pistol, it is quite often a real hassle getting those pins in. I don't know if you've struggled with it, but I have struggled with it, but I don't struggle with it anymore, because what I do is I cover the frame with t-shirt fabric, you know, something that, so that I'm protecting the frame. And then I get a small quick clamp and I put the clamp on it. You're gonna see that in a minute here. I put the clamp on it and I squeeze that trigger housing group down into that frame, and it lines up the holes for me, and it makes it so much easier to drive those pins in. I'm using a roll pin starter punch here. Roll pin starter punch has a hole in the end so that whatever roll pin you're using, there's a bunch of different sizes, so you get the right size for your roll pin, and it holds your roll pin for you while you're getting it started. And then I switch over to a roll pin, really short roll pin punch to get it most of the way in. In fact, on this frame, I will not be using a regular long roll pin punch, except later I'll show you how I use one to line up parts. But right here, these are just little bitty, really short punches. You can see them in the upper left there. Again, be sure that you like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. Checking between the right and left side to make sure the pin is in there evenly. Sometimes you knock it through too far and you got to knock it back the other way. So now I've got my roll pin starter punch now. I'm going to start working on the other hole that holds in the trigger assembly block. man. Smith & Wesson does not want those pins to fall out. Those suckers were tight. Oh boy, so tight. Now we're going to get on to something else. So we got the fire controls in with the 2 pins. Now we're going to put the trigger in down through the trigger hole, and then the trigger bar locks back up into the fire control housing. Okay, we're going to work on the front slide lock block, or the front rails, and get those buggers, get that bugger in. So what I'm doing here is I've got a small punch that's going in on the incorrect side, and it's lining up all those parts, the trigger, the slide lock block, it's lining them up. All right, and then since they're not really perfectly lined up because the slide locking block is not all the way in there, just a little bit off, so I got to put my clamp system back on. I'll go off of the front of the trigger guard because that's the strongest part of the trigger guard, and I'll push that locking block down so the holes line up, and then I can get my correct size roll pin into the correct side, and that's what we're doing right now. All right, those pins were a pain in the ass, but I got them in, they look good, and now it's time to move on to the takedown lever. I think it's nice how that black really pops off of that robin's egg blue. All right, it's time to move on to the Glock slides. Here we have the burnt bronze Glock slide. Notice the screws that are in the RMR cut. Those are protecting the threads. And it's time to get this thing put back together. Oh my gosh, please do not use red Loctite on a front sight post. Do not use red Loctite on a front sight. Just don't do it. We're not going to show rebuilding all 3 Glock slides. We're just going to do the bronze here, and then we'll go ahead and cut out the remaining 2 slides in the interest of time. You have to be real careful when you're threading that front sight screw into the bottom of that front sight. It's very easy to get it cross threaded. You do not want to cross thread that front sight. don't know if you can see this, but the front sight tool is touching up against the back of the rearward side of the muzzle. That is the best way to get a good alignment on that front sight screw. Okay, it's time to move over to the vise for some rear sight installation. Bentonville Cerakote is factory trained and certified to apply Cerakote coatings. Well, this is Dunamis again, and thank you for liking and subscribing to our video channel, and be sure and share our videos, and we'll see you next time at BentonvilleCerakote.com.